You are Locked On Giants, your daily New York Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, New York Giant fans. This is Patricia Traynor of the LockedOn Giants podcast with a New York Giants news brief for you. On Tuesday, the Giants announced that they are adding 3 players to the physically unable to perform list, aka the PUP list, and 1 player to the non-football injury list. And I'm going to tell you who they are, and I'm going to tell you what that means. So let's start off with the PUP list, guys. The additions, really no surprises here. Sterling Shepard, wide receiver, who's recovering from an Achilles injury. Matt Peart, offensive lineman, who is recovering from a late season torn ACL. And center Nick Gates, who, of course, is recovering from that gruesome leg injury that he suffered early last season. Those are the 3 guys that have been added to the PUP list. They joined tight end Danielle Bellinger, who was placed on the PUP list last week with a quad injury. Now, what does it mean when they're on the PUP list? Simply put, the players do count towards the 90-man training camp roster. They cannot practice with the team because it basically means they are unable to pass a physical at this point. But it also means that they can come off the PUP list at any time during training camp, so long as they can pass a physical. So again, it's considered active PUP, meaning they're active, they count against the roster, but they can come off PUP as soon as they're able to pass a training camp physical. And the reason why a team is going to put a guy on PUP is once he passes a physical, you can't go back and put him back on PUP. It's either, if he gets injured, you can't put him back on PUP. It's either put him on IR or just wait until he's better. So this is kind of a strategic move for the Giants. Again, the guys, Peart, Shepard, and Gates, no surprise there. Those 3 were expected to land on the PUP list. Now, some of the guys who aren't on the PUP list include guys who were in red medical jerseys over the spring. Kayvon Thibodeau was one. Andrew Thomas, cornerback Rodarius Williams, receivers Kadarius Toney and Kenny Golladay, linebacker Blake Martinez. All these guys were in red medical jerseys, just a handful of guys who were in red medical jerseys, and they are not on the PUP list, which means they were able to pass their physicals. And whether or not they took part in the conditioning trainings, that I don't know. The Giants ran their conditioning training on Tuesday when the team reported to camp, and the media was not allowed in to see. So we don't know who took part in that. We do know that they took physicals with the team doctors, medical staff, and based on the PUP list, we know who passed and who didn't. So just because some of those guys were in red medical jerseys at during the spring practices, that doesn't mean that they're going to be full go come practices. They will probably have some of their reps limited. Or managed at the very least. We'll have to see who does what, who's working on the bikes, who's doing what with the trainers. But I do anticipate some of those guys who were in red medical jerseys, but who aren't on the PUP will be limited. Remember, this week is going to be the acclimation period. So the first 5 days or so of training camp, teams are not allowed to be in pads. They are not allowed to have full contact. And, that gets ramped up after 5 days. And for the Giants, that target date for the first padded practice with live contact is Monday, August 1st. So that's the date for them to aim for to get some of these guys off of PUP if they are ready to go. Now, I also mentioned that the Giants placed a guy on non-football injury, and that guy is outside linebacker Azeez Ojulari, their second-year edge rusher. Now, non-football injury is a little different in that basically what it means is the player suffered an injury that was not related to a practice or to a football game. So it was something that Ojulari apparently, sustained when he was working out on his own. He does have a hamstring. Hamstrings can be kind of tricky. So like PUP, Ojulari can come off that list anytime he is able to pass the physical. Right now, concern with him, they don't want to take a risk with that hamstrings. Hamstrings can be tricky. So because the injury happened away from the Giants facility, there's Ojulari on the NFI list. Now, he does count against the roster. I don't know at this point how serious the injury is. We will be hearing from head coach Brian Daboll on Wednesday, as well as general manager Joe Shane, by the way, and we'll get a better idea, hopefully, as to where these guys are. My gut feeling is they're going to tell us that these injured guys, Ojulari, he's going to be day to day. Now, Gates, Parrott, Bellinger, and Shepard, those guys, of those guys, I would say probably Bellinger is thought to be closest to returning sooner than later. Shepard, we'll just have to see where he's at. Again, I don't have an updated status for you as of this recording, but I will try and get something for you once we hear from Daboll and once I get in the building and I can start talking to people again. So that is the latest with the Giants. So basically, folks, those of you who are panicking and thinking, oh my God, here we go again with the injuries with regards to the Ojulari news, let's see exactly what we're dealing with here. Hamstring injuries, yes, they are tricky. You've got to be careful with them, but let's see what the Giants have to say about it and how quickly he can get out there on the field. And I suspect even when he gets out there on the field, they will limit him so as not to create any setbacks for him. For more on the New York Giants, keep it here on the LockedOn Giants podcast. I'll have some updates as we go along, these little short videos, and a whole lot more in addition to our daily shows. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you tomorrow after the start of Giants training camp.